So we're going to pass the microphone around. I get the first question, though. And, you know, Ying, as you know, having spent more than 2 decades in the United States, we like to think of ourselves as the exporter of democracy and press freedoms and, you know, corporate, and the benefits of capitalism. But what impact is Western media and Western corporations having on press freedom in China? On the one hand, you have the New York Times, as you showed us, you know, doing some really breakthrough important stuff. On the other hand, you have the chairman of Bloomberg saying, well, you know, just a couple of weeks ago saying out loud in Hong Kong that while we wander a little bit away and write stories we probably should have kind of rethought. So are we having a positive impact or a negative impact on press freedom?
That's very depressing. That's very depressing. When I heard it, I literally feel chilling coming down my spine. The issue is that if an organization as powerful, as professionally standards, you have to give in to China. I mean, what about the little guys? You know, our young reporters, our reporters in Hong Kong, in China. You know, what chance do they have? How can they stand up to power? So it sends a very bad message.
Who's got a question? Got one down here. Yes. We'll get you inside. Go ahead.
Okay. Hi, my name is Daniela Gerson. I'm with University of Southern California. And we've been working on a project that uses Weibo with the Alhambra police. Alhambra is a small city just east of Los Angeles. And it's been fascinating to me the way it took off right away. We started an Ask an American Police Officer campaign, partly to just do outreach locally. But it took off across China and also in the United States. They're not at the scale of some of these Weibo accounts you showcased. But one question I had is, how come the Chinese government has been able to, as far as I understand, shut down Twitter to an extent that it cannot with Weibo? And what are the limits there, if you could explain a little bit?
Well, Weibo is also under heavy censorship. Postings can be deleted by technical means because you set, filter out certain keywords. You also have human monitors being posted at each of these internet companies. If they don't do that, if they don't censor properly, the companies can be in jeopardy. So there's a lot of self-censorship, self-policing going on. It's very tight control. But then what people did is that you race with time. You post and you have a little window and the messages get out.
And if the Chinese government wanted to, could they shut down Weibo altogether? I mean, are they leaving it open intentionally to an extent?
Well, there is also a business proposition. Both Tencent is a listed company listed in Hong Kong. Actually, 1/3 of the shares is held by a South African internet company, Naspers. And we're in the age of globalization. So it's very hard for them to shut it down totally.
Well, first, I do want to thank the volunteers for running up and down the stairs. I really appreciate it. And thank you so much. This has been a great discussion. My question was about what constitutes a rumor, according to the Chinese government, because you're saying they can imprison someone put someone in jail for 3 years for sharing a rumor. Is that up to simply what the Chinese government determines constitutes a rumor? Can it be true? I mean, what's the qualification for that?
Well, you said it. It's whatever the government says. All right. So there's no such thing as with what I believe to be true or the right to say make mistake. It's whatever the government says.
That's the great thing about a police state. When you run it, you can make up the rules as you go along. Yes.
So these new digital tools, they give a lot of space to the journalists, but they also can turn into tools of surveillance by the state, right? So we hear a lot about that in connection with the U.S., but the Chinese government has even fewer constraints in using the digital tools against these journalists?
Absolutely, absolutely. The government actually have armies of researchers, programmers, and studying all these. So it's gaming. You're gaming each other. So what do you do? But there's space for you to express yourself. But there's also limits. There's certain things that are off limits. But it's a given. Government surveillance is a given.
Hi, thank you so much for your speech. It was fascinating. I know that with journalists having to renew their visas annually, it creates a lot of anxiety in foreign correspondents. They don't really know what the rules are, what the red lines are, and yet they have to worry about them. So if you were to make a list of don'ts functionally, what is it that the Chinese government doesn't let you cover or will actually potentially penalize you for, and what are some of the cases you've seen of that nature?
There are a number of don'ts, but I would like to approach it in a more positive way, as it's important that international medias or international civil society need to somehow work together, maybe tacitly. You do need to do the stories, right? And China is rich, too big to fail, and too rich to be offended. Everyone wants its market. And so what do you do, right? And but somehow the international civil society, media organizations need to somehow coordinate or work together to advocate, to explain to the Chinese, and to continue to pursue the stories.
Yes, many of us in Africa, fighting for civil liberties, don't really know what to do with China. For what reason, many of our leaders say that China has succeeded economically, so why should we bother about Western democracy? So is there any chance that the civil society in China will actually rise up to get the liberties that we need?
Well, I think so. And civil society in China may not be rising up yet, but it is definitely growing. It's a very vibrant civil society bubbling beneath the surface. As to Africa, I think as journalists, let's do the stories. Let Chinese and African journalists work together and find out who are these companies, or Chinese companies, investing in Africa, in the mines, building the dams. Chinese companies are building at least 24 dams in Africa. I'm sure some are good, some may not be so good, some in the gray area. Let's do the story. Follow the money. I see there's a lot of need for international collaboration and do the stories.
I might take you up on that. Thanks.
Someone way in the back.
Yes, thank you. Biljana Sekulovska from Macedonia. You said that you are very optimistic about the internet, and the internet is the future, actually. So my question is, do you think that internet will be the most important tool to establish the democracy? Thank you.
Well, it's not just the internet, it's technology. I think technology is empowering, is liberating. It has its dark side, and for all kinds of reasons, it promotes democracy. It's an enabling platform for democracy. I'll put it this way.
Hi, my name is Melody. I'm with ACC's Accent newspaper. I'm the editor-in-chief. I was wondering, what's as radical as the Chinese government is with pretty much anything involving journalism, it seems, have you ever had concerns for yourself? I mean, just by the research that you do, or have you ever had concerns about that?
For myself? Well, compared to journals in China, I'm in a very good situation. You know, I don't make things up. So it is I don't think it's an issue.
Let me ask you, as a head of someone who's founded 2 journalism schools, one on the mainland and now one in Hong Kong. Hong Kong is supposed to be a somewhat protected zone when it comes to press freedoms. Did you find that some of the things you can teach or put in the curriculum in Hong Kong, you had to avoid or downplay in Shantou when you were putting that school together? Is there a difference?
Yes, there are differences. Of course, there's some in Hong Kong. We have this system called one country, 2 system. So we don't have a Great Firewall in Hong Kong. We have speech freedom and academic freedom in Hong Kong. But then in China, the young people are very smart. Because they have access to information. Even with the Great Firewall in China, they're very skilled. I learned from them. They use the VPN. They can access information. And this generation is the most informed and knowledgeable generation. So you share knowledge with them as much as possible.